Okay, let's go ahead and get started here. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Food Travel Talk TV, a monthly talk show brought to you by the World Food Travel Association, the world's leading authority on food and beverage tourism. Food Travel Talk TV was created by and for the world's culinary travel trade. Our goal with the show is to inspire us all with ways to help us do business better. Every month, we invite industry thought leaders, opinion makers, and trendsetters to discuss important topics for our industry's benefit. My name is Eric Wolf, and I'll be your host today for our January 2021 episode. This month's topic is How COVID is Changing What We Eat. And I'd like to introduce our guest, Dr. Richard Horwell, who is the owner of Brand Relations Limited, a food and beverage brand consulting firm based in London, UK. Say hi, Richard.
Sorry, yeah, hi. I was a bit shocked at the doctor bit. I'm only a Richard. I'm only a Mister.
Okay. Apologies. I saw
Yeah.
MD after your name. Oh, that must be managing director then.
Yeah. No, I'm not a
Okay,
doctor.
we'll fix that.
Yes, as much as
Wait,
I'd
I'm
like.
sure you'll have many jokes about that in the future, won't you?
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, yes.
Do-
Hi, I'm Richard Horwell. I've been in this industry, well, probably close 30 years now. I have a company called Brand Relations, which has been going since 2007. In that time, we've been behind over 100 brands, food and drink brands, predominantly in the sort of drink and snack type area. So we see a lot of the changes and a lot of the innovation that comes into this industry. And so I see probably well, before COVID, I saw a lot more brands per week than I see now. But we certainly have a lot of Zoom calls, and we speak to a lot of people that are sitting at home bored with their jobs and decide that they want to go into a new industry. And having seen such a massive growth in food and drink over the pandemic, they all decide that they want to do something in food and drink. And some of them have some great ideas, and some of them are very, very innovative, but some of them are very, very stupid. But anyway.
So, well, before we get started, let me just say to everyone that feel free to post your questions at any time in the chat window. We will reserve the last 20 minutes or so for our guest to answer your questions. And now I'd like to set the tone for today's episode. COVID has changed life as we know it. More people are now working permanently at home than ever before. Online retail and food delivery businesses like Amazon and Uber Eats have exploded. But perhaps unexpectedly, the pandemic has also changed the type of foods and food experiences that consumers are looking for. In other words, COVID has changed how we are eating and drinking. In the course of the next hour, we'll speak with Richard Horwell to learn what is changing with food and beverage products and experiences so that you can make the appropriate changes in your businesses. And as we prepare to ask Richard the first question, we would like to invite you to participate in our poll. We would like to know how your own eating habits have changed since the COVID pandemic began. So I am going to go over here and looking for my poll here. And my poll is not there. Wouldn't you know that? Well, I'll tell you what, everybody, if I find my poll, I'll launch it later. How's that? Let's just go ahead and start. Richard, I'd like to let's get into this. How has COVID changed what we're eating and drinking these days?
Quite dramatically, and obviously I can only talk about the UK, although I did a fair bit of traveling last year. A lot people are very, very much care about their health. They care about their weight. Obviously, COVID is affected by your health and by obesity. So it's been a wake-up call. And in the past, when people would rush into work, catch the train, whatever, and drink a Coca-Cola and grab a McDonald's, etc., people are sitting at home now and they're thinking about what they're going to have before they plan to have it. Initially, there was a bit of a boom, I think, when the first lockdown started, in people getting the Deliveroos and getting the same old crap that they used to eat. Yeah. But that's changed a lot now. And we've seen, certainly, going through the trade press and seeing the reactions and polls, we're seeing a massive increase in healthy products and people starting to think more about about whether they're going to survive this or not.
Well, okay, so we're thinking a lot more about food and the food purchase decision making that we're doing. But were these changes that were happening anyway, or are they really attributable to COVID?
No, definitely they're happening. Definitely happening. Wellness products have boomed for the last few years. And despite the government's efforts of just putting a sugar tax so they can get more money, that has created an awareness of it. There's been a sugar scare. the fruit juice companies have really been hit hard, and you would think people used to think that innocent smoothies were the healthiest thing you could have for breakfast, but now they're aware of the fact that sugar is a killer, and the less you have in your diet, the better. So there's been a complete swing from sweet drinks to a boom in not nice, not necessarily nicer drinks that are coming by, but there's been a boom in sugar-free drinks. And healthier drinks where people think about when they pick up something. It's not just I'm thirsty, I want that. It's I'm thirsty, I'm going to look at this. What's it got in it? And I'm going to somewhere like Whole Foods or one of the healthier shops, etc. Is a good example of people stopping and reading labels. They pick up drinks and look at the labels. A few years ago, people never did that. They didn't care what was in it when it was in it, what the sugar levels were, or what preservatives are in there, or what colorings are in there. Now they care.
Well, you were saying sugar-free. Now, does that include alternative sweeteners, or does that include the sugar replacements like the aspartames and acesulfame?
Well, I'm not a fan of those. The only one I do cope with is stevia because there's masking agents for stevia. The nicest one in my mind is sucralose, but sucralose is not very popular. Certainly not with the healthier audience.
Yeah.
But yes, there is a market for drinks with sweeteners in them. But I would think there's also a market for a lot of drinks that just having flavors put in them without any sweetening at all. The likes of the sort of, we have brands called, sorry, you blocked out there. That was your thing came up, your poll.
My poll, I did find it eventually.
It just popped up on my screen.
In the chat window for some strange reason, but we found it. So
yeah. So yes, there are a lot of drinks coming out that have literally got no sugar in them and no sweeteners. They don't taste great, but it's an alternative to just drinking plain water. Yeah. We've seen an emergence with the younger generation where they're not necessarily encouraged by big adverts and big posters and being cool to drink something that if you drink this you'll be cool. They care about what they drink, so they're either drinking water or they're drinking something functional. If I'm going to drink something that's not water, then I'm going to drink something that's going to give me a benefit, whether it's a a caffeine type hit, and I'm not talking about the Red Bull type things. There's quite a lot of healthy products out there now, or whether it's going to give them. There's lots of added benefits you can put in, from green tea to make antioxidants so lots of different benefits you can put now into drinks that will help you get through your day.
Well, before the show, we were talking about vitamins, and you said that the amount of vitamin D that's been added to drinks since this began has really surged. Now the manufacturers are running out of vitamins. Is that a thing?
Yeah. I mean, it literally that's one drink that before COVID, if people came in and said we wanted to do a vitamin drink, there was a real backlash of vitamin drinks a few years ago when they found out that the vitamins actually dissolved in the sunlight, and that if you bought a bottle of vitamin water or whatever, 3 months into it was sugar and water in the end. So people just decided they didn't want them, and it was very, very hard to resurrect that market. But since COVID-19, people are deciding that there's something like a 20% increase in new product developments with vitamin D, which is the one that is to help you with COVID-19. And all of a sudden, there's drinks emerging on the market. We're doing some for a company in Thailand, doing a range of vitamin drinks with one's a calm drink, one's a focus drink, one's a relax. So they've got different elements to what vitamins we put in them.
Well, they put vitamin D in milk, so why not in other drinks too, right?
Yeah, agree. Yeah. But the milk market, I mean, it's still there, but obviously the plant milks have taken over massively in the UK.
Yeah,
even from peas to oat to coconut.
What is the number one alternative milk, would you say, right now?
Oat milk, I would think. Yeah, Oatly would be, they're a massive player.
Yeah.
Oat milk, massively.
Yeah, we use oat milk here at home, and I'm quite happy with it. I guess almond milk was the real controversial one because it's so resource intensive. It really destroys all almond orchards because it requires so many almonds.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that, and I don't think almond milk's taken off as much here. I think Alpro are the people that have really pushed that. I don't think there's a lot of the almond milk people have come into it. As I say, we even have pea milk here, from chickpeas.
Yeah, I think in the States, almond milk and perhaps coconut milk and soy milk are bigger, I think, than oat milk. Oat milk seems to be quite big in Europe.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I'd be interested to know what other countries and what other people. We obviously you've got listeners from all over the world. I'll be interested to know, because when I did a fair bit of traveling last year, despite the COVID, and I drink oat milk, and I didn't really find it anywhere. As soon as I say I go into a coffee shop and say, "Can I have oat milk?" They're like, "Yeah, you can have soy milk or nothing."
Yeah. I've got 55 people in the room so far, and why don't you tell us in the chat window? We presenters will see your comments, but you won't see in the chat window. Tell us what drinks you're drinking in terms of alternative milks: oat, almond, soy, coconut, pea. You said pea.
Yes. Yeah. What else
I've
have we
not
got?
heard of that one.
Hemp. Yeah, hemp milk.
That's right. Yeah, hemp milk. So are these then growing now because of the whole COVID thing? I mean, what's the number one growth alternative milk right now since the
Well,
pandemic
I
started?
saw Oatly the other day, been valued at 2 billion.
2 billion pounds.
Yeah, or yeah, euros, I think, probably because they're Swedish.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I
Wow.
mean that puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
Does. Well, the Swedes are very big on healthy eating, organic eating, natural eating, so I'm not surprised that Oatly is a Swedish brand. That makes good sense.
Oh,
Yeah,
also Denmark as well. Denmark is
they
they're
are.
very into the health industry as well.
It's true. It's true. Yes. People are typing in here.
Norway,
Um,
people are
almond.
typing. Fun.
Someone makes their own almond milk.
Really?
Wow. They say it's easy to do. You know, Wendy, I wouldn't expect it to be that easy, but I'll take your word for it. I'm gonna have
Yeah,
to
but hey,
maybe
these are the advantages of COVID-19. You've got the time at home to be able to do it. That's
we can
exactly
all
the
become
point,
massive
isn't it?
food nerds and
Yeah,
spend time learning how to make our own almond milk.
you got the time to make your own almond milk.
Oh my
That's a perfect
goodness.
example of how COVID's affected the way you eat and drink.
Well, give us some examples of some other food trends that you've seen really take off since COVID started.
Well, there's a lot of people come through our doors with different ideas. We're launching 5 brands at the moment. We developed one of them, which is something that I swear would never have hit the market 2 years ago. Is this drink that we call the Immunity, and it's based on stinging nettle. And if I'd said to people, 2 years ago, will you drink a drink with stinging nettle in it, they would be probably say, ouch. But we blended it with dandelion, gooseberry, rosemary, and thyme, and all these botanicals. And nettle is a fantastic diuretic, antioxidant. There's a lot of benefits from it, and so people are looking for products that are gonna make their life and their health better. We've done a collagen drink. We've just launched it at the moment, which I don't know where that is. Oh, it's up here. It's here, darling. Yeah, a collagen drink. Again, collagen. There's a lot of benefits for that for to repair your body, to repair your
Sure.
muscles and joints, etc.
Leaky gut
We
as well.
Yes, yeah. Well, and beauty is the big one, isn't it? Skin, hair, nails. We've got a protein tea that we're working on. Another area that has boomed massively in the UK is kombucha. It wasn't until today we started looking at the figures. 5.6 million pounds a year spent on kombucha.
Mm,
So that goes back to what you said about gut health. Probiotics are taking off. So there's a
very
lot more
much so.
focus on the fact that you can get energy by getting good gut health. You don't need to stick caffeine and etc. in your body. There's also a boom in products that calm you down now, because people have 15 coffees at work or whatever, or 15 coffees at home, working at home, and then they try to go to bed, so they want something to calm them down. So we've actually put chamomile in one of the nettle drinks. Yeah, we put chamomile in one of the nettle drinks as a relaxant, so to completely move us away from being an energy drink.
It's crazy. Yeah, I hear what you're saying about kombucha. Before I left Portland, kombucha that was next to beer and wine, kombucha and coffee, of course. Kombucha was probably the fourth most drunk drink in Portland. Big leader there. Lots of producers, manufacturers doing that, and it is quite healthy for you. And I'm reading a book right now called Eat Dirt by Dr. Axe, Josh Axe, maybe I think his name is. Anyway, very interesting. It talks about leaky gut, and it talks about how a lot of um, the diseases, from allergies to foggy brain to psoriasis and arthritis and all kinds of things, are really caused by a leaky gut, which is basically undigested
Sounds
food,
revolting.
bacteria, viruses getting into your system through your intestinal tract. it's really quite fascinating.
I think it was you that said to me the other day that people have all these issues with gluten, etc. And back sort of 100 years, there wasn't the rubbish that we put in bread, and
Yeah.
so there was no issue with us having an issue with gluten.
So let's do talk about gluten for a minute. What changes in gluten have you seen in the past year? Gluten products.
I'm not. I've got to be honest. I'm not really in that category.
Okay.
Adam, what would you say about the gluten market?
A lot has gone gluten free. Oat powder as well. Oats.
Yeah, there's a lot of people are going gluten free just to be able to get into those particular aisles. The what do they call them? The aisles for the free from aisles. So you can get listings in supermarkets with free from products if you go gluten free, etc.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not an expert on that. I'm not. We tend to do more drinks than snacks, so I don't know what the effects of the gluten is. That's why I was asking Adam here. He's my recipe guy.
Yeah, well, gluten is one of the biggest causes of the leaky gut thing, and there's been a movement now towards the ancient wheat, which is called einkorn. That's the kernel, and that's very similar to what they had in places like the Levant area 2,000 years ago. And it was really only until the 60s and 70s that they started tinkering with the genes of what we have now as modern wheat. And that modern wheat has more chromosomes. It has about 10 times more gluten in it, and it's also ridden with the pesticides and stuff that it's like a sponge for pesticides, and it's not good for your body. I mean, you're reading all these things, and it's kind of eye-opening, really. I did an experiment. I went gluten-free for 2 weeks, and I've noticed a difference, I have to say.
But the issue is you've got to have time on your hands, like everybody has at the moment, to be able to go researching that and spending time on it. Because if you're working, 10 hours a day in an office, you can't go gluten free, or you can't go, you can't. It's very, very hard to do these type diets where you can do them at home. And I think it's an opportunity now for people to be able to make that effort and do the things that they can do at home to make their health and their lives better.
You're very right. It does take time to research, investigate, and to practice and to get into new habits. But do you think that we're going to, as consumers, do you think that we're going to continue with these habits after life normalizes again?
Well, that brings up the point of people cooking at home. A lot more people are cooking at home, and I don't think that they realize they could. I know a lot of people, a lot of friends of mine, et cetera, who used to live out in restaurants or takeaways or, never bothered. Now they've actually got to cook for themselves at home. So with time on their hands, they start to think about what they're doing. They start to buy ingredients online or go down to their local supermarket, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's a lot more of a constructed effort to what they're eating and drinking. Obviously, we're just the last few days of Veganuary. And the vegan market has had an incredible reaction in the UK, far more so than I've ever seen before. I joked in an article I wrote before that in the early days, being a vegan was eating a lettuce leaf and a glass of water, but now there's a lot more to it. There's some, and so something like what do you say? 23% of new product releases were vegan last year.
That is very interesting indeed. Yeah, I mean, I hate to keep referring back to Portland, but when I lived in Portland, vegan was a big trend there, and it was also a hub for food manufacturing. And you had a lot of gluten-free was big, vegetarian was big, vegan was big, and that's really when I was introduced to vegan foods. And I would have to say that before I lived in Portland, vegan always in my mind kind of created this image of not tasty, probably clay-like, and but then in Portland, bland, yes, all of those things. And then in Portland, you had food scientists really putting together everything that's vegan based, and these things are quite tasty. And I think we just weren't making the food the right way before.
Yeah, I love the way that everything tastes like cheese or tastes like chicken. They can't call it cheese or chicken or
right. Tastes just like bacon.
Yes, they eat bacon. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. But people are doing it because they want to get healthier, and they feel that eating more vegetables, which is right, eating more vegetables and more fruit is a better way to go than eating processed food.
Yeah.
Or meat.
let's take a quick look at the poll that's come in. So we've got 60 people in the room right now, and the number one response. So we asked people, what major changes have you made in your eating habits since COVID began? 42% are cooking more from scratch at home. That is the number one answer. And the second number answer at 22% is actively seeking more locally made food and beverage products. And then the third biggest one is eating much more vegetarian or vegan dishes than ever before.
Yeah, yeah. I think, I mean, I live near, I live just off Portobello Market, and it's amazing on a Saturday, despite everything that's going on, that's packed because people are down there. They're not necessarily going to the supermarket to get the processed stuff. They're down there looking for fresh fruit, etc.
Yeah.
Because they are cooking from scratch and they are thinking about what they want to put in it, and and every little ingredient makes the whole dish more interesting.
Yeah. I wonder if people are going to keep these habits going after things normalize. I mean, with so many people cooking at home, it's like we've had amnesia. We forgot how to cook before. Now we're remembering how to cook, and we're realizing how easy it is. So that's option number one. And option number two then is these delivery services that will basically send you everything prepped already, and you just have to assemble it.
Yeah, no, and those are growing too. We had a pub contact us in the just before in November last year, and they said that when lockdown happened, they were worried about how they were going to carry on trading. So they started doing these ready meals that were kind of like prepared meals and deliver them to people's homes, not fully cooked, but something that put together a few carrots or meat or whatever, put them all together in packaging. And they said to me in the first week they did like 150, and then the next week they, and it's built up to 400-500, and now it's making far more than their pub ever made. And my local pub near me, or pub/restaurant, he's turned the place into a supermarket now, and he's delivering that exactly that type of food, where you get a chicken, you get all the vegetables and everything you need just to cook meals. So there's very little wastage, and it's almost paint by numbers.
Yeah. It's people are eating out a lot less nowadays because obviously they're not able to. There's lockdowns and so on, and people are cooking more at home, which is good. But I think one of the hidden benefits of this is that we're starting to remember our culinary cultures. We're going back to family recipes. We're asking our parents and grandparents about the things that they used to make, and I just I don't know. I just wonder if this is going to continue because it's great to see, because I think with the mass commercialization of everything, a lot of these culinary traditions were really in jeopardy of being lost.
Well, I think the other thing is that we put up with food when we go to a restaurant, and food that may not be anywhere near the standard you're making at home, and I don't think people are going to put up with that in the future. So especially the British, they're quite happy not to complain. But once the pub's open, the restaurant's open, if the food's not of standard, you go, well, hang on a minute. I mean, I saw some joke the other day about when the pub's open, saying, "Excuse me, barman, but this drink doesn't taste like it's got any spirits in it. Bear in mind, I've been pouring my own drinks up until now."
Right, which perhaps with a little heavy hand.
Yeah, that's right. Doesn't taste like it's got any alcohol in it.
Yeah, we call those California cocktails where I'm from. It's more alcohol than anything else, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Indeed.
But that's another thing. It's weird because the alcohol consumption's gone up, but it's been premium alcohol. If people are going to drink gin and tonic at home, they're going to drink more craft gins. So it's been, and also craft mixers, etc. That market's gone up. They're not going to drink the basic sort of. I mean, Smirnoff sales have gone up, but they're not going to drink necessarily the Smirnoff Gordon's type thing. They're going for something a little more premium. But on the back of that, also, there's been an increase in low and no. People drinking these, I call them the Emperor's New Clothes, where you buy a bottle of spirit that's zero alcohol and still pay 25 quid for it. But, like Seedlip and stuff like that. Yeah, and yet people are buying those and drinking those.
Interesting. Wow. Maybe it appeals to a certain market segment. I'm not sure. It's hard to say. But tell us more about.
Gin's just come out with a 0% gin.
And they're still charging the same.
Not far off it. Guinness has just done a 0% Guinness. There's definitely a market there for zero alcohol.
Interesting. Yes, there is. Okay, well, Tell us more about these premium markets, because you're not the first person that said that. In our State of the Food Travel Industry report, which comes out next week, we have a whiskey ambassador from Scotland, and he was saying exactly the same thing. So what's driving that? Why premium?
Well, probably the availability. There's a lot, there's something. I heard there was about 2,000 craft gins hit the market after gin became popular. And so there's a lot more opportunity, and it's a lot more exciting than just drinking a basic gin and tonic or whatever. People, if you're not going out to a bar and getting the cocktail barman to mix you up something, then you can be a little mixologist at home, can't you?
Indeed,
My
yeah.
parents are doing that. They're experimenting with different different mixers with their spirits, etc.
Have you noticed any?
Cocktail. Sorry.
Have you noticed any changes in packaging since this has all started?
Yeah, very much so. What's happened is, in the past, obviously all the ocean situation with the choking the fish, etc., with PET. There's been a massive swing towards cans. So much so that it's very hard to get hold of aluminium and get hold of cans. It's everybody's battling each other and waiting online, and so there's been a huge boom in cans. We talked about earlier about this whole idea of plant bottles, which pretty much look the same as a plastic bottle, but they're actually made from plants. They're in such early stages. Tetra Pak are doing the same thing where they're using plants. Tetra Pak's had a massive increase as well. Obviously, that's no good if the drink's sparkling. But these type of plant-based bottles, they're not commercial yet. It's just they're very hard to fit into production lines. So a lot of people think, oh wow, there are plant-based bottles available. Let's go for those rather than PET. But at the end of the day, PET is cheap and it's very quick to produce. I mean, they actually blow, when they make a bottle like this, they blow it on the production line and then fill it with product to make sure that it's completely clean. Whereas with something like this, they have to make the bottle first and then fill it, and it won't take any temperature because the bottle melts.
And they're still creating waste. I mean, I think there's a false perception there that people are doing the right thing, and yes, it helps, but still, you create 1 billion bottles of water per whatever it is, day, week, month, and you're still creating 1 billion bottles of water, but now they're made from some healthier,
Oh
more
no, they
planet-friendly product.
biodegrade. So if they did end up in the ocean, they would dissolve.
Yeah,
over
but
a period of time. I don't know what the period of time is, but it's
but
not,
it just
it's not
seems like
instant.
maybe what if we started to reduce our consumption of those things, like just what people have done with plastic straws, right? I mean, people just started saying no to plastic straws, and does anyone really miss them? I mean, I understand that some people have a medical requirement for a straw, and that's fine, but have you missed plastic straws?
No. But I think that's slightly different. How else are you going to get a drink like that? I mean, yes, there's Tetra Pak, but we talk about using cans, and people think cans are fine, but they're actually lined with plastic. Yeah, there's a lot of issues that people don't think about. So it's not perfectly simple. Oh, let's just get rid of plastic bottles and move to cans. There's nothing really to replace it to be able to get drinks out in small quantity. And I mean, there's things like SodaStream, which I thought was a great idea for Pepsi to buy. Where you can actually do your own fizzy drinks at home. But that said, the carbonated drinks market is reducing dramatically. I think it's 1 in 10 pounds spent on drinks now is carbonated drinks. So it's a lot less than it used to be 5 or 6 years ago.
Interesting. Someone was asking here if any foods or beverages have been made with frankincense. Have you heard about that?
Only from Jesus. I don't even know what frankincense is. Do you want to have a look? Have a look and see what frankincense is.
I think it's an essential oil, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe that's myrrh.
What is frankincense? Just one of the guys will look it up.
It's a bark of a tree.
It's a bark of a tree. Tell them to come and see me. Well, give it a go.
So Deborah from Oman is saying it's a resin from the Boswellia sacra tree.
Yeah, I thought she might be based in the Middle East because they're a lot more into that type of, that type of utilizing those type of products.
Well, Richard, maybe it's a new trend for your clients for this year. Bring it out, bring it to the UK.
One of the issues we have in Europe, not just the UK, is there's a thing called novel foods, and novel foods stops you using certain ingredients in drinks. in food and drinks. So there's a lot of products you can buy on Amazon, etc., as a powder, and do what you want with it. What's the mushroom that everyone's buying at the moment? Lion's mane mushroom at the moment. People are using it for tea, etc. But legally, we can't put it in a drink. So the novel foods are quite strict. So I don't, without checking, I don't know. If that lady would like to contact us, I'll find out from Novel Foods if it's available to use. And I wonder what on earth it tastes like. It might be nice, might be. But
Yeah.
for example, the nettle one, the actual extract of nettle that we use tasted like swamp water. But what we managed to do was put lots of ingredients with it and make it taste a lot better.
Well, I suppose if you don't like the frankincense drink, you could always use it as an aftershave. So
yeah. Is it used for that? I don't know.
I think it's used in aromatherapy, frankincense, myrrh, and there's a couple others that are typically Middle Eastern type scents like that. Yeah.
I wonder why they would give it to Jesus then.
Don't know.
Yeah. Maybe he was an early aromatherapist.
So back to these changing habits then. Do you think that airlines, cruise lines, and hotels are aware and acting on these habits? And I want to cite as an example British Airways, because British Airways had an in-flight meal program with Marks and Spencer Simply Food, and I thought they did a really good job. And apparently that wasn't good enough, and so they've gotten rid of that. Now they've hired a Michelin star chef to do their in-flight
Tom
catering.
Kerridge,
yeah. So are these? I mean, what's happening with airlines, cruise lines, and hotels? How are they reacting to these trends?
Well, I don't know whether necessarily switching to Tom Kerridge is going to necessarily mean it's healthier food, but if when you say to people now airline food, people grimace. It's not healthy food. It's greasy. It's fattening. It's just the fact. If they could start serving healthy food, that'd be great. And to be honest, that on the recent flights I've been on, where they're actually doing like these little picnic packages that they hand out to you, the food's been quite good. It's been quite healthy.
Yeah.
So I do think that the whole world is going to start looking at things in a healthier way. With all due respect to my friends from the Middle East, I spend a lot of time working over there, and the Middle East has been slow to react to this. But in the last few times when I've been over at Gulf Food, there's been a massive change from their unhealthy diets to much healthier diets. They're actually reducing sugar now, and very, very sweet tooth over there. And all of that's starting to change now, and they're starting to go to look at more low sugar products and starting to look at what ingredients are.
I had a sandwich on a Lufthansa flight a year or two ago, and the sandwich itself was quite tasty. But I'm always looking at, right at that point, I was thinking about food allergens, right? And so I'm looking on the label, and they did not, how in the UK a lot of the food allergens are bolded?
Yeah, they have to be by law.
On the food label, but these were not, and I think maybe half of them were something. So things like wheat and mustard were not bolded, and if you have a mustard allergy, you could die from that. And I was kind of shocked.
We had that situation with Pret a Manger here at the airport, where a girl died waiting for a flight. So yes, I think it's very important that people should be made aware of what ingredients are in there. It's sad that people can be so allergic to something like that they'll die from it.
But Lufthansa is a major airline, and they get it. They're a great company. So how could they make such a big mistake with their in-flight catering?
I don't know. I think, as I say, with the girl dying at the airport in the UK, it's very, very strict here. Anything that we do, even with drinks, we have to put the allergens on there. And if somebody comes to us with something with peanuts in it, it's very hard to even find somebody to produce it for them, because they don't want peanuts in their factory. They have to tell everyone.
Yeah.
We had that situation with somebody we were doing a jerky for a Nigerian jerky that they wanted to do in the UK, and they found themselves a co-packer and weren't really sharing the information about them. And and then they sent us in a packet to try, and one of my staff is allergic to peanuts, and of course he got very, very ill from it because they hadn't put on there that it had peanuts in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people, sometimes people think you can get rich quick, we've got this great idea, or we'll create mom's recipe or grandma's recipe, but no, you have to really think it through. You don't just launch a product like that.
Well, that's where we come into it, because we want, first of all, I'm reluctant to take on anything unless I'm very confident that it can be a success. And so, you know, I've had to break a few hearts and tell a few people that they're wasted their time and money to date because it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But also, we're very, very much making sure that the ingredients are right. And the sort of people that we deal with packing the product, with making the drinks and stuff like that, or making the food products, they have to be very large, you know, BSC certified. You know, you've got to deal with the big companies. Getting someone small. I mean, nowadays it's to supply products to the likes of even Whole Foods, smaller shops and stuff like that. You have to have HACCP. You have to have certification to make sure that we're not going to poison people.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we just a quick footnote here. We have a verdict on frankincense. Apparently, it is delicious infused in water.
Okay, let's try it. Let's get some online and try it.
So
Okay.
make note of that, and I'll connect you with Deborah so she can tell you how to prepare it correctly, because I'm sure if you just put some drops in, it probably won't turn out right. So there's got to be a recipe somewhere. So
Yeah.
Deborah, I'll connect you with Richard. Super. And thank you for starting to put your comments and questions in here. We'll get to questions in mass in about 5 more minutes. But so what do
Did
you
you want
see?
to talk about sugar? Did we cover the
Yeah,
sugar?
let's talk about sugar. What would you like to say about it? What would you like to tell us about it? What's changing with sugar?
Well, a few years ago, I'll never forget. We launched an HPP juice, which is a high pressure processing called cold press in the UK. And we went down to have a meeting with Waitrose, and it was at the time when this Trop 50 had come in, and the whole sugar scare had started. And this was really started by the media, where they'd frighten the life of everybody. And so Trop 50 was an orange juice that was 50% water, and then sweetened up with stevia. It tasted revolting. And so we went and had a meeting with Waitrose, and she was like, "No, I'm not taking any more full juices. You know, I only want stuff with 50% stevia. My whole range is going to be this, blah blah." I don't think she works there anymore, but anyway, the reaction was everybody went towards having stevia because they were so. It was a knee-jerk reaction from not wanting sugar to saying, right, okay, well, stevia is the next best thing. But stevia has a particularly nasty sort of aniseed type aftertaste that it's quite hard to get used to. Since that time, lots of companies have developed a masking situation that takes off the aftertaste of it. At the end of the day, by the time you put stevia in and masking cover in, you're probably chemical anyway, even though it originates from a leaf. So what happened was everybody went to sugar-free drinks and going, oh, we've got to have sugar-free drinks. And that was kind of led by the media and then followed by the buyers in the supermarkets and stores, etc. But consumers went, this tastes revolting. We don't like this. And so now the market's gone back to having some sugar in it. And the levels of the sugar tax that we talked about earlier are 5 grams per 100 mil. But you've got to be doing 1 million liters before you pay any sugar tax. So it's really only aimed at the Pepsis and the Coca-Cola. But the smaller companies, that it's very difficult now to launch a drink that's got more than 4.5 grams per 100 mil. And at the end of the day, if you've got a 250 mil of can of drink, that's kind of like 10 grams of sugar, which is more than enough. But my point is that consumers are going for some sugar rather than no sugar, and most of the drinks that we do are the sugar from fruit juice, so that it's natural. But that's the sort of thing that happens in the market where people have a knee-jerk reaction. We want no sugar, and then they say, well, "Hang on a minute." One of the owner of Honest Tea, when he sold it to Coca-Cola, I went to lunch with him afterwards, and he said to me, "People buy for health, return for taste." And that's exactly the same with most things. If it doesn't taste good, you're not going to keep buying it.
Indeed. Yeah, and I'm thinking about some of the products that I enjoy, and we were talking about the Tenzing drink before the show started, and I'm just on their website right now. I'm trying to see what their ingredients are.
We've got
Do
a
you
can here. You want to
do
go
you
and grab a
happen?
can?
I wonder what the sweetener is that they use.
It's probably stevia because Whole Foods won't. Oh, it's sugar, is it? Oh, it's beet sugar. Oh, yeah. Sorry,
Beet
Adam.
sugar, that's right. Beet
Beet
sugar.
sugar, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, and it's interesting because I have to think back to our industry and in culinary tours and so on, and people travel to different destinations because they want to experience what's local and authentic. But I also think that, people are taking their behaviors with them on the road. So if you're allergic to something, or if you're vegan or vegetarian or gluten free, and this is making it hard to enjoy the cuisines of different destinations. So I'm wondering if, in your travels, Richard, have you seen destinations trying to accommodate these changing dietary trends, or are they still keeping things pretty authentic?
No, I think they're keeping them authentic. I haven't, I've stayed in quite a lot of hotels, throughout 2020, and I didn't see a lot of adaptation for it. I'm sure there are in people's homes. I just think it's probably a bit early stages for the restaurants, etc. to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, last year I was in Ibiza, I was in Holland, I was in Sicily, I was in Turkey, and I didn't see a massive change. And as I said to you before, on asking for oat milk in a coffee or something like that, people looked at me as though I was mad. You can have soya or nothing. So
Yeah.
I think the UK is much like sort of New York and California, where we are a little bit more health obsessed, and other countries are following. I can see that when we use the example with Norway, Sweden, Denmark, places like that, and even France and Germany, etc., are following, starting to be a little more healthy.
Hmm. Well, okay, last question of mine before we start taking questions from everybody. And if you would start putting your questions in the Q&A window, please. Just pop open the chat box, and then there's a Q&A thing in there. You can start putting your questions for Richard in there. But they say that every cloud has a silver lining. So in the F&B industry, what would you say has been the silver lining for that industry since the pandemic began?
What, in hospitality? I think
Food and beverage,
yeah. I mean,
whatever.
hospitality has been a disaster. I think I think it's very, very sad that the people who have been hurt in hospitality, and the people who lost their jobs and their businesses, etc. So that has been very bad, and in food service has been awful, and airlines, etc. The only sector that has been successful, and I guess if you call it a silver lining, is the fact that the health shops, for example, in the UK have seen a massive boom. I spoke to a health wholesaler a few months ago. He said to me he'd seen a 300% increase in his turnover. So the food and drink generally has taken a massive jump, and we were looking through some of the ingredients that have dropped away, and some of the ones that have gone up. Growing categories: lager, table wine, rolling tobacco, spirits, meat, free from, fresh vegetables, cigarettes, cheese, and cider. And then the ones that had gone down were where are the ones that have gone down? Yeah, we looked at the ones that had dropped. I don't know. Anyway, the things like Kit Kat and chocolate snacks, etc. All of those sort of things had dropped away because people didn't have access to them.
And the question is then, do they miss them?
Oh, probably not. No, ready meals was the biggest loser. They were the ones that I think it was 92% in sales.
So there's been some discussion in the chat window here about alternative sugars. So beet sugar we talked about, and natural date syrup. Are you
Yes.
seeing much use of these in commercial products?
Not so much date syrup. We had somebody come to us a while back, wanted to use date syrup with the milk. It's nice, but I guess it's a little more Middle East than we have in the UK. So there's also accessibility, etc. What other sugars would you quote, Adam? Well, yeah, cane sugar is another one. Agave. And these are all being used. What else is there? Yeah, honey sometimes, although the vegans don't like that.
Sugar.
Yeah, we've said beet sugar.
Yeah, I've had date syrup before, and I think it's relatively easy to get, especially in a country like the UK where you've got Middle Eastern stores that would stock it. But it's got a flavor profile. It's a little molassesy, so I think it may impart a bit of
I've had
a
it. I like it. I think it's nice. No,
yeah,
I
it
mean,
is nice.
you've got to bear in mind that we're talking mass production here, not going down to the local
Right.
shop down the road and picking it up.
50 ml bottle of premium date syrup imported from
Yes.
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, just pouring it at the factory. No.
Yeah, that's true. Perhaps
And
that's not
also
practical.
you've got to bear in mind that the factories, when they're mass producing, they don't like that. Well, they don't like honey, for example, because it sticks down the lines. when they're filling cans or filling stuff like that, they have to really clean their lines out afterwards. So it has to be a specific drink to do that. So the stickier stuff like date syrup and honey and blah, blah, blah is quite hard to use in mass production, because they'll put it in a huge vat, mix it all up, and then pump it down the lines. And if there's traces of it down the lines and they put another drink in, then it will affect it and contaminate it.
So you just need to ask a crafty American how to manage that. And what you do, you use powdered honey.
Yeah, no, they have used powdered honey. The reason we're not using honey at the moment is purely and simply because we can't market it as vegan.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, we do have some questions coming in. And one of the questions here has to do with recovery in the gastronomy field and new eating habits. So I guess the question is, people have these new eating habits, new products, and so on, these new dietary trends. Will any of these things be driving the recovery in gastronomy?
I'm not an expert in necessarily in that field, but I certainly feel so, because people are not going to expect to go back to the same style of dining as we were saying earlier. When people cook at home, that they start to learn more about ingredients and what food should taste like, and what if you do this to a product, it comes out like this, or if you do this, it comes out like that. Yeah. So people are starting to understand how to cook, and when somebody understands more and more about how to cook, they're less likely to take second best. So I think yes, and I'm sure that even before COVID, the industry was getting a lot healthier. There were vegan options on all the menus wherever you go, certainly in London anyway. And so that area is growing, and I think it will grow even more once they open the doors on what few restaurants are left.
Yeah, no, it's true. We were seeing that a lot. There's always vegan and vegetarian options on menus, even in places like Spain and Italy, which, kind of turn a blind eye to those things. We don't want to hear about that. But now, no, they're addressing it, and you could find those things on the menu. So I
think more people are more likely to pick it now. After they've been doing that, it's just like, no, I don't want vegetarian. I'm going out to dinner, or I want to eat meat. But I think they're more likely to pick it now.
Well, and even you have meat eaters now ordering vegetarian dishes, so it's really hard to tell who's who now.
Flexitarians, yeah.
Yeah, very much so. So we have a question here: COVID and Brexit combination for the food industry. What will be the biggest impact for both suppliers and consumers?
Adam has been arranging everything coming in and out of the country for production, and I hear him swearing a lot. It's just the whole Brexit situation. We've got some ingredients that are going from the UK over to going to Austria for production, and because they're natural flavors, they contain spirit. They're just held up in customs. Brexit has been a disaster. So stuff going backwards and forwards. It's just the government's definitely playing it down, because we can't be the only people having these problems.
Yeah. I know. I just have to ask the rhetorical question: if you could reverse Brexit, would you?
Oh God, I never voted for it in the first place. Yeah, but I have to say, I having spent 3 weeks in Turkey, I don't understand how Turkey can be so cheap, and yet you go up the road to Bulgaria and all the prices go up because they're part of the EU. So maybe the EU pushes the prices up for everybody else.
Well, I think there's increased legislation and compliance issues, of course.
Yeah.
That's part of it. We have a question here from Finland, and the question is, do you see an increased interest in growing your own food, veggies, and herbs? This was trending in Finland.
Oh my God, yeah, definitely. But it depends what you can grow. I mean, people are growing stuff in their gardens without question. I mean, even some of my staff have been doing that, especially during the summer, because we had such an amazing summer. But in the winter, it's a little harder unless you've got a greenhouse or something, and that takes quite an investment. But yes, definitely, and and on mantelpieces and stuff like that. I'm not necessarily. I don't think. I live in London, so I don't know if people are going to be self-sufficient. I don't know if you remember The Good Life.
Well, I think it's relatively easy for people to put a plant on the windowsill. I don't know that you get enough light in the UK to cultivate a lot of these herbs and things. But some plants I think will do okay, and yeah, why not? If you can grow it, why not?
No, I do. I've got a balcony where I live, and we grow chilies and all that sort of thing out there. So yes, there's some things that you can grow all the year round. Herbs, etc. So yes, definitely. And in answer to that, yes, I think anybody who's got the opportunity to do it. My parents live out in the country, and they're growing a lot of stuff out in their garden.
Yeah, and I think you may have heard the stories about chefs in cities having aviaries on tops of the hotels or other office buildings in cities. I'm sure you've heard about that to maximize use of urban real estate.
What, for eggs?
Aviaries, bee honeys.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, to be honest, I hadn't heard that, but yeah, that
Oh
makes sense.
yeah, it's a thing. It's a
That's it.
thing.
The pollution doesn't kill them.
Yeah, I was on the top of a restaurant in Quebec City, Canada, and they took me. Well, it was this restaurant, and they have their own garden up to the top, and they took me to the top, and they had four. I don't know what they're called, but where the bees live. You know, the little stands where the bees.
Beehives.
Yeah, but they're not the hives that you'd find in a tree or something, but the
No, no,
ones with the
they're
slats
beehives.
that you.
My parents' next door neighbour's got a whole load of them. Yeah,
Okay,
the
so
wooden one. Yeah.
yeah, the wooden ones. Yeah, so they had four of those, and they had some other plants that they were cultivating, and yeah, and it was a thing. And then I've heard about premium hotels around the world doing it. And it's kind of the elite thing to be able to say in your menu that you've got your own cultivated honey from the chef's own garden, and you know.
Sounds very American.
Well, no, it's a trend. It's
Canadian.
trending around the world, not
Yeah.
just
I
America.
haven't heard it in the UK, but maybe it is. I haven't heard it in the UK.
Okay. Someone is asking if there is not a move away from mass production.
Well, certainly not in my field because there's no other alternative. At the end of the day, a lot of this comes down to cost. And there's different types. For drinks, for example, there's a process called high pressure processing, which is a small batch production, which you can put a shelf life on a drink by using cold water and pressure. But the problem is that you're talking 30 to 40% more in price, and as the recession bites, which is going to, are people prepared to spend double on something that's not mass produced? I think when you come down to fruit and vegetables and stuff like that, yes, I think homegrown and that type of situation, yes. But if you're talking about a soft drink, then not really. No, it's just I
Well,
think it's
that's
always
just it.
produced.
Populations are increasing, and I think if you have to feed the masses, you can't stop mass production. There's certain things that have to be mass produced, but I think that the big food factories can look at the production methods. They can look at being more socially responsible. They look at things like workers' rights. They could look at animal rights, fair trade. They can make sure that they tick all the boxes and try and do a better job. And I think, to be fair, a lot of these companies have been trending in that direction, but I think there's still more room for growth, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, well, Coca-Cola and Pepsi are both trying to make friends with being better to the environment, etc. They are making a lot of effort because they realise that they're the ones under the spotlight. Most of the companies we deal with aren't under the spotlight because they're doing healthy products in smaller quantity. But when you
Yeah.
start looking at the Coca-Colas of this world, then yes, then they are under scrutiny.
And I think, I've always seen change happen either bottom up, so the small artisanal producers, or top down, which is the big conglomerates. And I think that you really need a combination of both. And when you see a Coca-Cola or Pepsi taking a stand and saying, no, we're going to do this and this and this, like how McDonald's has eliminated all plastic straws in all its restaurants, that's when I think you start to see the mass populace starting to embrace things in earnest. Would you agree?
I don't know. I think McDonald's doing that's a drop in the ocean. What about the containers they put there? Are they in cardboard now? Or are they still in the plastic? Or I'm sure there's a lot more plastic in McDonald's than just straws. So sometimes they jump on the bandwagon of something that everybody's talking about, and when you look a bit closer, there's a whole lot more things they could be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I've seen when I've seen McDonald's being served, it's been in the cardboard, the paper
Yeah,
containers, not
yeah.
the styrofoam. Yeah. Here's an interesting question. What percentage of the changes in purchase is due to COVID as opposed to general trend changes?
I haven't seen any research on that. Have you? I've got Olivia here. No, it's very hard to say. But there's a 14% increase in wellness drinks in the last year. So that must say a lot. And that's a big increase when you look at the size of the market.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And someone's asking here about vertical farming, which ties back to our comment about farming at home and doing things like that. I have heard about people using walls for farming. Do you know much about vertical farming?
No. I'm the first one to admit when I don't know anything. Yeah, I definitely don't. I've never even heard the expression before.
Oh no, it's definitely a thing.
Really?
Yeah.
What, you just grow it on what pots on a wall? Hydroponic.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, it's a thing. So Catherine from Denmark is making a comment about this, but yes, it's big in Holland as well, and even people at homes that they'll have a wall that is natural and they'll have moss and stuff growing in it, and you can grow flowers and herbs and stuff in there.
What, inside or outside?
Inside the house.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. What about food for kids? I like this one. Food for kids. What has changed during the pandemic for that?
Well, other than Martin Rashford. Yeah. Actually, that was one thing that we didn't go through. There was a massive increase in the sales of cereals. That people have started having breakfast during the COVID. So 23% increase in sales of cereal. So much more people are having breakfast now.
It's quick to prepare for the whole family.
And I assume that includes children as well, because when you look at it, they were there were some of the products were Kellogg's.
Yeah,
like they were children's cereals. So kids were starting to eat a lot more cereals.
Yeah. No, that's true. Well, cereal, I mean, it can be full of sugar or it can be relatively healthy depending on.
I must say it has been very hard in the UK, because this is a situation with Marcus Rashford here, where kids are going to school and it's probably the only proper meal they get in a day. But when they're not going to school, they're not getting those meals. So he's been trying to force the government to try and do something about making sure that kids from poorer families are getting fed. So it is a big issue with that, and not only are they getting fed, but they're getting fed healthy food.
Yeah.
So when they're in school every day, you can ensure that they get a proper meal, but when they're at home, you can't do that.
That's true. Yes. Well, we're just about to wrap up, and Richard, before I ask you to share your details with people so they can get in touch, I'd like to make sure that everybody knows about World Food Travel Day, which is how we celebrate our attention to food cultures around the world. So every April 18 of every year, we celebrate World Food Travel Day all around the world. So if you'd like to learn more about how to celebrate it and what you can do to participate in your area, I've just shared a pop-up for you. So click on that and that will share those details with you. So Richard, if someone is interested in learning more about your company or wants to get in touch with you, what should they do?
Well, our company's brand relations, brand relations, brandrelations.co.uk. So my website's Richard. So my email's richard@brandrelations.co.uk. If you want to send me through some ideas and some feedback, there's no obligation. I'm quite happy to help and advise people. I don't necessarily do what I do just for money. I do it because I enjoy seeing things go from zero to hero, from helping people have a dream. I've said before that when I grew up, the young people around me wanted to get jobs at banks and they wanted to go and work for the post office because they were secure for life. Now the young people around me are people that they want to be entrepreneurs. They want to run their own business and they want to go out and do something. So when people come to us and these young people come to me and I say, look, I want to help them. I want to help them be a success. And if I don't think their idea will work, I'll tell them.
Good. Fantastic. Thank you. Well, I've just put your email in the chat window there. So anyone who would like to get in touch with Richard, please do so. And Deborah, I encourage you to get in touch with Richard to talk about frankincense. She was, I didn't share this with you, but during the talk, she was sharing preparation methods. So she'll make sure that you get a great frankincense drink.
All right. I look forward to trying it. All right.
Lovely.
Thank you very much, Eric. And thank you, everybody, for listening. All right. It's been a pleasure. All right.
Thank you. And for everyone, next month's Food Travel Talk TV will be taking place on Wednesday, February 17. And we are going to be talking about sustainability issues in food and beverage tours. And our guests next month is going to be, let me just get his name, is Paul Fages, who runs a gastronomy tour company in Catalonia, Spain. So Wednesday, February 17 at the same time, 4 p.m. in the afternoon, London time. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Richard.